The 2011 World Economic Forum meeting is taking place against the backdrop of an economic environment where the world has become a multi-speed economy. The very large developed economies of the world are actually still facing uncertainties, whereas the emerging economies, which are though a small part of the world's GDP, have gone back to very fast growth rates. And it is in this diverse environment that we have to find the economic policies and the regulatory policies that work well for the world as a whole. And I think not just create an economic and regulatory environment, but also ensure that we handle issues like making growth inclusive, climate change, environmental issues, etc., as we really work through this multi-speed economy. So, I would really like to see and synthesize the views of different participants across these different issues and really create an agenda for the future from here. India is today sitting in a very interesting point. There are two very fundamental factors that are driving India's growth. One is the demographic dividend, and the second is a whole spate of investment activity. We all know that India is a very young nation and will continue to remain a young nation for many decades. What this would mean for India is abundant workforce, but not just that, millions of people coming into the working age group, starting to earn, wanting to consume, aspiring to consume and creating demand. So, that is the consumption drive that is going to drive India's growth. Following from this consumption drive is a huge demand for investment in manufacturing and infrastructure sectors. And now we are seeing that the huge investment activity in both manufacturing and infrastructure sectors has started. So, we are now sitting at a very good point where the demographic dividend is leading to consumption growth, and consumption growth is creating a demand for investment and leading to investment in infrastructure. And this is the nice virtuous cycle of growth that is going to stay with us for a few decades to come. Of course, I do recognize that as we move on to this growth path, we have to also make efforts to ensure that the growth becomes inclusive. And again, when we talk of growth becoming inclusive, we have a huge challenge ahead of us, because we are talking of 700 million people across more than 600,000 villages, and where we have to take growth and make them feel the benefits of growth. And here it is not just financial inclusion, but over and above financial inclusion, we will have to focus on health, education, skills, training, and making these people employable and giving them income generating opportunities so that the growth becomes inclusive. The significant challenge really is, how do we respond to a multi-speed environment? What we have to ensure is that we allow trade flows to continue, we allow capital flows to continue. But over and above that, as we create the regulatory environment has to be very balanced. The regulatory environment should be such that prevents excesses, but at the same time it should be such that it does not curtail growth. And finding the right balance in this regulatory environment is going to be the key for us to ensure growth for the future. Simultaneously, there are all other balances that we have to find. In the emerging economies where growth is becoming fast, we have to make sure that the growth remains inclusive. Again, as growth takes place across the various economies, we have to ensure that we do not ignore aspects like environment and other softer issues as we get onto the path of growth. So, I think it is managing different speeds, managing different issues, managing different and finding the right balance between them is what is going to be the most important challenge for us as we look forward. I think the corporate world really needs to do two things. One, and most important, is really to create a gender neutral, merit oriented work environment. I think what is just important is to make sure that in that corporate culture there are no biases against women, that the environment is merit oriented, that everybody gets an opportunity based on his or her merit, ability and performance. And as long as we ensure that, we will allow the best and the fittest to grow, and you will see gender diversity really prospering in that environment. The second thing that the corporate world needs to do is to really mentor their women workforce, especially at that time when women are moving from a very low management setup to the middle management kind of work, and at the same time expanding or growing their families and getting into family responsibilities. I think that is the most difficult period for women to find the right balance between work and family, and it is at that time that many women just quit and give up their career, and it is at that period that the corporates need to focus more attention in mentoring, in making women feel comfortable and helping them manage this balance.